We are a mysterious detective named Paul Prospera. When the police can't help, the priests don't believe, you come to me. We recently received a letter from a certain Ethan Carter, who lives in the valley of the Red Stream. At first it seemed like an ordinary letter from a fan, but then he mentioned things that little boys are not supposed to know. So we go there. Already upon arrival, we feel how the darkness of this place surrounds us. This is where our adventure begins. So, where to begin? We see in front of us a railway, leading to nowhere and an ordinary, at first glance, forest that surrounds us. Our task is to understand why Ethan called us here to find some clues. And how to do it in such a dense, huge and vast place. And here we find the first trap. Someone hunting wild animals? Not a bad theory, and it could be attributed to hunting. If a couple of minutes later we had not stumbled upon something. Another one. Then another and another. Here the picture is formed. Someone is trying to kill us. Having found all the traps, we have a vision that moves us to a cliff. Strewn with bones and skulls, right there on the left there is a small oak tree, under which we find a note written by Ethan. Here he talks about an old man who went to the forest to drink juice from trees. One day, a fire broke out in the forest, which spread to his village. The old man was able to get out, covering himself with juice. When he returned to the village, he found only the bones of the inhabitants. The old man sat down and cried. And then he found more juice. The most interesting thing is that after this we find bottles next to the note and a newspaper clipping about the fire, which says that the fire started because of the grandfather's unextinguished cigarette. Which leads to certain thoughts. Where is the fiction and where is the reality, however? We will return to this. A little further on, we come to a collapsed wooden bridge, at the end of which a cart is visible. At the same time, the hero says that this valley seems like a quiet and ordinary place. But during his work he realized that quiet ordinary places simply do not exist. Ethan warned me not to be fooled by what I would see. He should not worry. I have worked on dozens of cases, hundreds, and this will be the last. Having reached the cart, we first discover blood. This is where our detective instincts come into play. A little further along the railroad, we find ropes lying across the tracks. One knot is tied, the other is not. Probably, they tried to tie someone up here and this someone was able to escape. A little further we find already severed legs, a bloody trail. That stretches from the iron tracks. Having walked along it, we stumble upon a corpse. He has no legs, but at the same time his head is broken. Judging by his appearance, the man is about 20 years old. He is too old. This is not Ethan. On the bank of the river, which is located lower down the slope, we find a bloody crankshaft. Probably it was it that set the cart on the bridge in motion. We return and insert it into the gear. Now, it can be started. We get into it. Press the starter and go down the iron tracks to that very corpse. We get out and find that the cart perfectly matches the trace of severed legs. The first clue is there. Having collected the remaining clues located near the scene of the incident, we put together the overall picture and call up a vision, thanks to which we learn what actually happened here. The vision is several spirits that, when they get to a certain place, reveal what happened there. Specifically here we have 6 events that need to be put in the correct order. The deceased tied a boy to the iron tracks. An old man stands with the deceased near the cart. The old man takes a stone at the beginning of the tracks. The deceased stands stunned on the iron tracks. The deceased crawls without legs. The last one is an old man standing over the deceased with a crankshaft in his hands. It is not difficult to guess what exactly the sequence will be here. Having put forward your theory, we launch the actions. As it turns out, the boy is Ethan. The deceased, who turns out to be Ethan's brother, tied him to the tracks, being sure that he had gone crazy. Ethan's grandfather picked up a stone, began to talk to his brother. When he realized what his brother wanted to do, he hit him on the head with a stone. He began to back away and fell onto the railroad tracks. At that moment, Ethan gets out and runs to the side. decided to take matters into his own hands and ran over his brother with that very cart. In the end, he finished him off so that he wouldn't have to suffer. That was the first murder. Here we understand that Ethan's family is possessed by a certain sleeping being who has put a curse on his family. Now he intends to destroy the curse, but the family will try to kill him. And now the investigation continues. Ethan runs in that direction and we follow him. At the same time, we periodically catch our jaws in surprise at how beautiful the nature around us is. These trees, this sky, this bridge, it's impossible to even imagine how a real massacre could begin in such tranquility. Everything suggests that this is a quiet and ordinary place where you want to spend time, but as Paul Prospera said earlier, quiet ordinary places simply don't exist. From below the bridge we see a large house and a river flowing from the dam, and something tells me that we see this for a reason. After crossing the bridge, we find a new location, a village on the left side. There is a rickety house, which seems about to fall off the cliff. Entering it, we read some spell from a piece of paper. We start a small puzzle. Going a little further, to that same main house, we find photographs of the whole family. Here we can see all the members of the family. Ethan, grandfather, brother, mother, father and uncle. We have already seen the death of the brother, and as you understand, this is not the end. Further, the road hints to us that we should go deeper into the forest. We obediently obey and come to the cemetery. There we find an oil can, used matches and other evidence that are scattered nearby. Here we find a strange crypt, which, apparently, they tried to brick up with bricks to wall up someone there. Detective instinct tells us that we need to go down to this crypt. In it we find a second corpse, the corpse of an uncle. In his chest we find a strange knife in the shape of a raven, as well as a shallow pares on the face, which tells us about traces of a struggle. Here Ethan's mother and father come into play, who are also involved in this. Restoring the entire chronology, as we did with the first corpse, we find the following picture. The uncle tried to wall up Ethan in the crypt, since he was also possessed by the curse. At this moment, Ethan pierces his eye with something sharp, from which he backs away. Backstops, the mother eggs him on, saying that Ethan's father is a weakling who can't do anything, and the uncle decides to teach him a lesson for this. He rushes at him with his fists and begins to strangle him. Seeing that the situation is heating up, the mother finds no other way out than to plunge a knife into the uncle's neck, from which he dies. At this point, Ethan escapes from the crypt and heads straight for the shaft that runs under the Carter's house, which he solemnly declares to his father, who is still trying to fight the curse in the shaft. Kai, I don't have the keys. Well then I'll climb through the tunnel. Just don't let my mother near me. Okay, she's sick, you're all sick. Having gone deep into the forest, climbing a hill and descending from it at the other end of the island, we find the very shaft the boy escaped into. But it is not possible to enter through the gate. They are locked with a chain. However, having poked around for 5 minutes, we climb a small hill, where we find a barely noticeable crevice between two stones, through which Ethan climbed. We follow him. Having gone down into the shaft on the elevator, we enter a ring room, in the middle of which there is a railroad. Apparently, the wagonette was actively used here. On the right side we find an elevator that is submerged underwater, and we, as valiant detectives, are obliged to raise it. Using the button near the elevator, we start the elevator up. Inside we find a third corpse. The corpse of the mother. Here Ethan's father who tried to help the boy. Having heard that the mother had already gone crazy, at the last moment he stops the elevator, not allowing her to rise to the boy. Instead he presses the down button and lowers the elevator into a shaft filled to the top with water. Such a sad ending. The sleeper must wake up. The sleeper must. Having gone through this story, the spirits bring Paul Prosper outside, where he finds himself. You will not believe it, right under the bridge. Yes, the same bridge on which we walked an hour ago. From here you can also see the same lopsided house on the cliff edge. Meanwhile we are reaching the finish line of this game. At this moment we have two family members left alive, grandfather, father. Next to the dam there is a large house, which we have to look into. Going inside, we find an empty slot, in which the axe should have been. Going to the second floor, we see a broken door, and its pieces lying nearby. Apparently, it was broken in a fit of rage. Going further, we find a room, in which we find piled books, an overturned pen stand, and a corpse nearby. The corpse of the father. Judging by his pose, he was cornered and could not escape. His larynx is punctured, but there are no signs of a struggle. This is a strange and atypical picture for a murder. Restoring the chronology, we see that the father decided to deal with the late brother, who at that moment was climbing out of the mine. Brother pushes father into the house, where he picks up scissors and says that he does not want to hurt him. The son smirks and asks if he really thinks that scissors will save him, to which the father replies, everything could have been different. Father commits suicide, apparently getting rid of the curse. Meanwhile, we gain access to the dam, where we quickly head. Inside, we find a vision, where the deceased brother talks to Ethan and blames him for all the troubles. Ethan decides to end the curse by burning the secret room that he found in the house, where our adventures will end. By blocking access to water in the dam, we free ourselves a passage to the next part of the map, which was blocked by a dense stream. Now we are able to cross to the other side. Now we are heading deeper into the forest. Ethan was, I felt him like a bite of light in pitch darkness. He will recognize me, he will remember why I came. After walking a few dozen meters, we come to probably the most beautiful location in the game. A location from which you don't want to leave, in which you want to stay at this point to finish your walkthrough, and I'm sure the main character is not against such an offer. However, as a professional detective, the half-prosper needs to finish this case. Coming out onto a low hill on the left, we come across a house burned to the ground. Judging by the languishing ashes, this was done relatively recently, perhaps a few hours ago. We go inside among the debris and other garbage and find something unusual, namely a strange seal on the floor. When we touch it, we hear a dialogue in which a code is pronounced that opens. We enter the signs in the correct order and discover a secret passage. It seems we have found our destination. Everything inside is also burnt. Burnt logs lie around. A hole from a fire flaunts in the roof. Some decayed mummies hang on the walls. Here we find another corpse. This time it is impossible to identify him because he is completely burned. We dive into memories and see who it is. Grandpa. Apparently, this is one of the elements of the chronology, which we also need to restore. This time everything happens quite quickly and intuitively. Ethan wants to burn the secret room to stop the curse that has struck his family members. Grandpa offers his help apparently until the end. Having opened the secret door, Ethan says that he can squeeze inside and asks Grandpa to support the door. Grandpa listens, fulfills his request, and Ethan goes inside. And then Grandpa suddenly closes the door behind him. The curse has taken over him. However, this does not prevent Ethan from finishing his job. He, being right in the closed room, spills gasoline on the floor and sets it on fire. As a result, the floor catches fire, along with it Grandpa himself. He accepts his fate and dies in a pose that is calm for him. After the vision ends, the room itself opens up to us, where Ethan was supposed to be. We go inside and find our missing boy. Is that him? Go bathe, you're great, you did it. It was hard, but you did it, Polprospera, you're really here. I'm sorry Ethan, I showed up late, too late, you're right. Too late. Yes, it was just a vision. In fact, the boy is no longer here, because he died in the fire. We saw it 2 minutes ago. We just found a map of the world we traveled to. Something tells me that we just have to download the memories that very last time to find out what this all means. Jesus, Ethan, are you here again? You missed dinner. The parents are on edge, they were looking for you. Go away, Travis, leave me. Hey, Mom, he's here. Honey, be careful with the lamp. Del, what's wrong with your boy? Drawing on the walls, making up stories. Like, what is this? Ethan, oh my God, did you forget about dinner? I'm sorry, I was just writing a story. Did I ever? Travis, please, he's drawing on the walls. Who does that? Chat. Shut up, you don't have a son, Dodic Dale. Travis, come on. Go, Dodic. Ethan, you're a fucking Dodic. Travis, stop. Shit, come on, don't just stand there. Go, get out, smoke. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? From here. I wrote to you, but I didn't think I created you. Now I'm real, I don't want to leave, I still have to finish your story. I've written stories about everyone, yeah, I know, but mine is finished, it was beautiful. So I can go, you can go. What will happen next? Another story, kid. How else? That's it, it turns out, everything that happened was actually unreal. There was no sleeper, no curse, no attempts. Ethan's murder. And most importantly, no Paul Prosper. The mysterious detective who is able to solve any case. We were just a figment of the dying imagination of a boy who breathed in carbon monoxide, and the last thing his brain reproduced was the path. Starting from the railroad tracks and ending with this very room. This explains why Paul said on the bridge that this would be his last case. This explains all the paranormal activity that happened in this game. The boy was simply unhappy. With his boring life, he ended up creating different worlds. That allowed him to distract himself from bad thoughts. And no matter how it sounds, instead of an epic ending, where Ethan destroys the secret room with the curse and becomes a hero, he simply dies of carbon monoxide poisoning. And, together with fictional detective, they both go to another world, where they will have a completely new story. It was a game where you do not really exist, it was a game where the main character died. Your first step.